Hello and welcome to episode 129 of Masters of the Forge. I'm Adam, and with me is my long-distance hetero life partner, Jason.
Wow,
how you doing,
honored.
Jason?
I feel honored. That's what I feel.
You should feel so honored that you're Hanaward, which is what the British call it, I think. Something like that. Anyways, yeah, so the last episode was a Altar of War sneak peek.
Yep.
Or, like, special edition, because we had it in our main feed.
Yeah.
So I hope you all like that. Sorry about the sound, but we have the new computer up and running on my side of the planet, and it's awesome. Super happy to have a proper machine that I can use.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to bring this thing around to different places like cons and stuff, which is really nice because it's a laptop, but it can hook up to unlike my trashy Chromebook, which I actually love that thing. It's great. I can throw that thing around and beat it with a hammer. It's fine. But this one's a little more delicate and a little more like, it doesn't have a solid state drive because I'm cheap. But I'm going to be able to take it into the game room. So when I have people over to do Altar of War episodes, and we don't have to get up and go into the office every time we want to record after a turn. So it's going to be really nice. Now, the interesting thing about this, it's a Dell, right? Because I'm old. I'm not going to build a computer. It's not going to happen. I'm too old for that crap. So I bought a Dell, and immediately, of course, as usual, I delete McAfee because that's stupid.
Yeah.
You have Microsoft Security Essentials or whatever they call it now. Windows Defender. I don't know. Anyways, killed that, and I switched over to Chrome, but something weird happened. Like, and I did a bunch of research, and a lot of people were saying that the only way they could do it was restore to factory, and I'm like, well, what the heck? So, because there was weird connection problems, like weird security, like lots of interesting unsecure connection problems with going to Facebook and stuff. So I re-imaged and immediately ran Windows updates, and it was fine. It works fine now. I switched to Chrome and everything, and it's fine. So I don't know what happened. I'm wondering if whatever Dell does to it to add stuff after but you would think it would be the same image. Yeah,
well,
yeah, it's probably not the same image. So anyways, if you ever have that problem buying a Dell, just immediately when you get it, restore to the use the system restore, and immediately do your Windows updates, and you're good to go.
Wow.
So that was fun. That was super fun. But here we are in the summer. I mean, I hate to complain because you are in about as far south as you can go in the United States.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's like 95 degrees in this room right now because I had to close the windows and turn off the fan and everything. Yeah, it's not great. It's like 85 outside, and so it's like 90 something in here. So this is the sweatiest. This is Fromunda hellscape is what this is.
Well, for our friends elsewhere outside the United States, let me see, what is that temperature?
Oh, right. I don't know.
You're what, 90, 98 or so?
I guess.
Okay, so that would
people are 98. It's like 35?
37.
37 in a row?
Wait, what?
Nothing. All right, cool. So
is that an Archer? I know that. Wow.
Yeah, it's good.
Wow, that's a good Clerks reference. I'd completely
yeah. Try not to buy any models on the way to your parking lot.
That's
hobby progress. Hobby progress. So I decided to sit down and take stock of all my remaining models. I went and I built a few things, like boxes that I had sitting there. And I'm like, okay, let's get this all on a shelf. And it did
Yeah.
all fit on one shelf, which is nice. I mean, I did have to put like a metal plate on the shelf to extend it just a little bit, but everything fit. It's a little over 4,000 points, and I'm not including the Blackstone Fortress Bach models because I don't even know if I want to paint those or not. So, and there are 5 trillion Gretchen, thanks to Mike, who's a well, the man is a Canadian piece of human garbage. And anyways,
that Mike.
No, he's a delightful fellow, and I love him. But there are a lot of spiky Gretchen. One thing I know for a fact, though, if I remember being chased by a robber in my house, all I have to do is like swipe that shelf onto the floor, and they will just die as they follow me. They'll just be dead. They'll be like, oh god, I stepped on Gretchen, and then it'll fall over, and then just get stabbed all over with Gretchen helmets. So, I mean,
are these metal
I should
or
thank
plastic?
Mike for giving me the most perfect home defense system possible.
Are these metal or plastic?
No, they're plastic, but they're the second edition Grots. They're like, they're no joke. They will kill a man.
Yeah, I know those Grots. Okay, yeah,
Shut up! Don't play stupid. You know what I'm talking about.
I'd forgotten that he sent them to you. I just remember the last time you bragged about not having orcs that I fixed that problem for you. So
yeah. Oh, speaking of that, yeah, I totally traded those orcs in to get something else.
Aww.
Don't worry. It supplied the it helped supply the hellhounds for my Diggas force, so that's cool.
So you trade it for other orcs. Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, exactly. It's fine.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I'm going to rewind just a little bit. Other funny story, we got me a nice big awesome 22-inch monitor to go with this laptop. It's super sweet, right? It came with came with a HDMI cable. Okay. It came with USB cables for some reason. Well, you can like plug in other devices to it to display stuff, like your phone. Oh, yeah. You can actually like display stuff from your phone on there. It came with VGA cables and everything. It came with all of that. The only thing it didn't come with was literally the cable I needed to plug it into my laptop. Like, I don't even know why it came with an HDMI cable. There's no HDMI port on the machine. My computer has an HDMI port. The monitor has some stupid video port. I don't even know what it is. We have the same thing on the monitors at work. That's like, what is this? It's like some dumb HDMI bastardization. So I ordered that off Amazon today. So this sweet 22-inch monitor is just going to sit here like a big dumb block of plastic. Anyways, awesome. Well, at least I have, my 100th USB cable. That's super important to have.
Well, yeah, man. You never know when you'll run out.
Yeah. Anyways, I have so many Gretchen. I'm also, my buddy Jay is a jerk. He gave me like 600 points of Dark Eldar. So I'm thinking about just painting, like I'm going to buy an Archon and just paint all of it in July. I know there's not a whole lot of July left, but just in 2 weeks, just paint all of it and just submit it to the Splintermind Eldari painting challenge. And just be like, here, does this count? They're supposed to do like 1 or 2 entries a month, and it's like a big, and they're like, and they say who completed and who didn't complete, and I'll just be like, slam dunk. Is this okay? I'm a little late with some of these. I'm on time with some of the others, so we'll see. I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna do those in a red and black quartered scheme with white trim. So I am doing a quartered scheme for some reason. BattleTech just started. No. Stop. No.
This is quickly turning into our cursed episode.
Stop it. No. Processes. Battletech. No. Not responding. Yeah, no crap. Okay. As I was saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so that quartered... I think that quartered scheme is going to make me hate myself.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with it. I think I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna take a pause from the big robots, and I'm gonna paint some pointy-eared little jerks. I just need to buy a Archon to go with it.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be super fun. And I'm gonna be painting it, or I already painted up my Disciples of Purity kill team from the
Death of
Antagonists.
Yeah.
But how did you know that? By David Annandale.
Because we'll talk about it later in our Beyond the Fringe.
Yeah. So the armor, which I totally remember, is Valspar Metallic Gold, 66009, washed with 50% thinned contrast Magos Purple. I wash it twice, and I make sure to, when I wash it, I'm not slathering it on. I'm just drawing it towards the cracks, like the recesses. Because remember, if you just slather it on, you're going to get splotches over the wide surfaces. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait to use them in some games of Kill Team that I want to put towards this next stage in the Somnium Stars campaign from the Independent Characters. I started work though on the Night Valiant and Armiger Warglaves. I dry brushed all the metal with bolt gun and just like several silvers. And then I started doing the panels black. But like I said, I'm going to set those aside. Then I bought 40 old Saurus Warriors, like the old Warhammer Fantasy Battle ones from eBay.
Yeah.
Got those from eBay. They're the old Warhammer models. They're push fit.
Yeah.
So they're kind of crappy, but that's fine. It's nice to have, because I'm doing 2 units of 40.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a little variety between the 2 units. Anyways, they're just on old 25 millimeter square bases. So I ordered some 32 millimeter bases from Archidan from Tectonic Craft Studios. Yeah. He does a lot of laser cut stuff. He was one of the original laser cut guys, so he has a lot of experience. So he's really good, and he always supports our tournaments and stuff.
That's nice.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. And I was like, if you're doing them on demand, can you cut me some slots?
Yeah.
In them? And normally that would be more expensive, but homie's hooking me up, which is nice. And those are going to be on his website soon, because he's like, what? I bet other people would want.
That is a good
slots
idea.
In their 32s, because a lot of people there's a lot of metal miniatures out there that people have that are slotted, and it's kind of annoying to cut the slots, the tabs off of those, and glue the feet to a base, because
it's metal.
Those metal models kind of do need that slot to help hold them on.
Yeah, with my Kroot,
it
wasn't the Kroot, it was the Kroot Hounds. I had to go through and take a knife to dig in a groove, and then with Space Santa I had to do the same thing.
Yeah,
and I hated myself after that.
Yeah, and I guess you can use a Dremel is a good way of doing that. But you know what's even better? Buying slotted buying slotted bases, and it's nice to not have to buy expensive ones from Forge World, the Blood Bowl bases. Yeah. How did you know Blood Bowl? Anyways, I also started reading Crusade and other stories.
Yeah.
I think Andy Smiley wrote the Crusade story, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
That's okay. It's nice to get some different authors and different perspectives, and it's got a bunch of more modern stories in it. So
that's cool.
Stuff from the Fenris, stuff from Blood Angels versus Necron. I'm reading a Blood Angels versus Necron story right now, like how that whole thing went down, like their brofist. So that'll be really cool. I'm reading through that one.
Oh, good.
And it's got the Silent King in it, which is cool. Like, it's starting to talk about how the Silent King went out into the galaxy, or outside of the galaxy, to mess up Tyranids.
Oh.
Like, that's his whole deal. His whole deal is messing up Tyranids because he sees the writing on the wall.
Okay.
Like, Tyranids are a serious threat. Like, if if the end all be all Necron Silent King guy is like, yo guys, so these Tyranids are a bad call. Like, we need to do something about these guys because they're going to mess us all up. You know it's a big deal.
That's right. That is very true.
I also bought Spear of the Emperor off of Audible. Mm-hmm. And that's a really cool book from what I hear all around. Yep. There was some talk about it on the recent episode of the Independent Characters Patreon special. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to reading that. He put a lot of Aaron Dembski about and put a lot of effort into that book, and people love it. So
it's a good book. I enjoyed it, but I typically enjoy his stuff because it's never. He rarely has the bolter porn.
Yeah, he does everything with a great deal of intent.
Yeah,
like everything is on purpose, which is a dumb thing to say about an author, but he really
does push it to another level.
He goes to the next level. Anyways, looking forward to that, especially because I guess there's a lot in the Imperium Nihilus, and my Star Eagles, the majority of the chapter is trapped on the other side. So I'm very interested to read what's going on over there, so I can apply that knowledge to my lore, and maybe I'll do an update on the Star Eagles codex very soon.
Yeah, that could be interesting. The lore that's coming out of this book is really interesting. It's really I
hear there's a mentor.
Yeah, there's a mentor.
That's so
and there
cool.
are Primaris there, but I'm not going to say anything else because I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
For you.
No, don't spoil it. All right, Jason, that's all I've been up to hobby-wise. What have you been up to hobby-wise?
All right, so we're going to crank through this. We'll explain later. I bought a Zone Mortalis board. Yay!
Tell me all about it. Tell me about this Zone Mortalis board, because I'm super excited about Zone Mortalis.
Yeah, so I bought it for myself for my birthday. So I was just like, you know what?
Happy birthday.
This is what I want. I've been wanting it for years. There we go. And then I talked to the guy who owns the friendly local game store, and he said, hey man, would you mind like bringing it by every once in a while? I'm like, oh yeah, it's coming by. You don't have a choice in this. He was hoping I would show up with it. I was like, no, it's gonna be here. I'm gonna bring it by a lot. So it might be that we do some. Well, of course we can do some narrative stuff, but we might be doing some other, maybe some Horus Heresy stuff. Maybe some. You went through and created some Zone Mortalis rules for 8th edition. Try those out. Mm-hmm. Also, I was thinking some of the late 7th edition campaign books, like The Rise of the Primarch, Curse of the Wolf, and all that stuff, had scenarios where they had like small areas that you teleported to. I don't remember if you remember this. They were supposed to be more of a hellish landscape. Well, what stops me from just kind of reskinning that and turning it into Zone Mortalis? Zone Mortalis like levels of a Space Hulk. Just have like maybe a 4x4, and here's an objective marker that teleports you to another place, another board, and so there's all sorts of things I could do with it. Would be really cool. So one thing that I finally figured out about Zone Mortalis and why it's always fascinated me, it's a dungeon crawl.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I'd always dug it and thought, this is really cool. And then the other day I was kind of contemplating how you could go through and line up the tiles, and just kind of, I realized that I'm, 10 years old playing D&D again. So, all right. But with miniatures and with like, super scary space dudes. So yeah, that's that. I resumed painting Blood Ravens. Yeah, I threatened it last episode, but there we go.
You're following through.
Yeah. So let me see. I've got a bit of Primaris. I have the Shadow Spear box, Dark Imperium, a box of Inceptors, a box of Hellblasters, and a box of Interceptors. So I built what was left over my little vacation, and then when I came back, I started base coating it. So they're all red, and they all have that kind of bone shoulder pad. I didn't add an extra highlight to the shoulder pad, but I just kind of went through and did it as a just one after the other, just kind of assembly line. Very big,
Mm-hmm.
very big batch painting. Very, very John batch painting.
Very John batch painting.
Yeah.
Actually, that's literally the opposite of how he paints.
I know, he doesn't do that at all. I did pick up a repulsor, but I haven't built it yet. I didn't have my magnets with me while I was on the road, and so yeah, I just couldn't do it. So, but it's there. I'll build it in the next week or two, and it'll be really easy to paint because airbrush with a tank, that's what it's best for. I also bought foam from KR Multicase. Got a couple of boards or a couple of boxes and a bunch of 32 millimeter Primaris foams, so I could go through and finally get all my Space Marines in foam because I haven't for a while. Let's see. Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about that again. This is foreshadowing, ladies and gentlemen. So I ordered the foam on like July 3rd, and they sent me the shipping notice. I thought, it'll get to me, whenever. But they shipped it from England, which kind of, shocked me actually. So, I don't know if they still have the U.S. factory or not, but it was cool to watch, and know that my foam came from England, while I don't think any of my models have been there yet, with me at least. So that was kind of cool. All right, continuing. Gore Halfhorn. I picked up that guy. Wanted to add him to my Inquisitional Warband. So cool. He's a cool model. You have to pin everything.
Yes. Yeah. So I want to talk more about. No.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not surprised that your foam came from England, because mine came from England too, and I'm wondering if it's possible that they closed their U.S. office. I don't know.
I hope they didn't, just because jobs and whatnot.
Yeah. The people over there were amazing.
Yeah.
Their customer service was top notch.
Yeah. Well, their packing
top notch.
Their packing is top notch because I got the box at FedEx because I wasn't there when they wanted to deliver it, and they wanted a signature. And so I get the box and I look at it, and it's pretty beat up, and all I could think of is, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And I took it home and I opened up the box, and of course it'd been wrapped in bubble wrap, and so the boxes were really in good shape. They weren't damaged at all, whereas the outer boxes have been beat up pretty nicely. So I'm impressed with them. I'm happy with them.
Yeah, they're just a great company. Yeah. I buy from them all the time. Although I did just buy some battle foam. I bought another tray of foam, of custom foam for the Diggas, because they needed to be in foam. And it's just battle foam is so great for vehicles, and custom foam. Yeah, it's just too good not to use for that. But I have a box of KR for the infantry, and I have 2 custom foam trays for my vehicles.
Okay.
From battle foam. So that's just how it works out. So, are we good to go on to talk about games, Jason?
No, I want to go.
Would now be a good time to talk about games, or should we pause?
Let's keep going.
Sounds great. So I played against Alexis. Yeah. She has as you guys know, she has a YouTube channel. She has changed her name, her like fan name to Norn Queen Alexis instead of Ego Queen Alexis, just because for optics.
Yeah.
So she's Norn Queen Alexis, and I played against her Gene Stealer cult with my Diggas for the first time, and it played super awesome. Yeah. I don't know how I knew you were going to ask me.
Well, I was going to ask
about how they played. So my Diggas played really awesome. They're a lot more mobile. I built the list to be more mobile, but even the infantry portions are more mobile than I thought they were going to be, thanks to the orders. Yeah. So you can fall back and shoot with get back into the fight. You can run and shoot with an order. There's a lot of stuff you can do to make the infantry more mobile. And the Hellhounds were just brutal. They incinerated things, which, you would expect them to do. But since I'm running them as catechins, which is I think it's a very narrative choice for Diggas.
Yeah.
Because they would be the strongest of the humans to survive. So they have +1 strength for the infantry. And the vehicles can re-roll the number of attacks for their weapons.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the flamer, the 2d6 flamer, I can reroll one of those dice. The heavy flamer, I can reroll that die. So, it's a lot of shots, and it's going to kill a lot of things. So, they're very fast. I love the Hellhounds. They, like, move 12 inches or something. They're really good. And then the Scout Sentinels are really cool, too. They're really fast and fun. And I use them to kind of screen. So that was a good one. Mm-hmm. I eked it out in the end. My new commissar. So, Commissar Neela Holt is, she's too old. Like it's, I could not continue her storyline, but instead of just having her die of old age, she got killed by, she overheated her plasma pistol into the face of a war boss.
Like you do.
And they both died from the, they both died from the overheating plasma. It is under the command of a new commissar, this time a proper commissar from the Imperium.
Yeah.
Her name is Rathberg. We're going to talk, I'll go into more detail about the narrative for that army at another time.
Right.
But that's the long and short of it. And she got into a battle with a Gene Stealer cult, Primus.
Ooh.
The big cheese, not Primus. What was, Primus. Yeah. That's the parent.
Yeah, not just the band.
No, is it Primus? Well, whatever. The big Gene Stealer guy who is in charge of the whole deal. And she killed him. She didn't really kill him. It's actually Manos, my Power Fist company commander, but she loosened that jar of pickles for him. So I'm going to give the W to the commissar. Yeah. I played with Curtis. This was he hasn't played very much recently. No. He played his Eldar versus my Necrons. Mm-hmm. And we played From an Unexpected Quarter from the Vigilus Ablaze book. This is a great little mission where one army starts in the center and the other army kind of oozes on from the battlefield edges and tries to kill them.
Yeah.
The defending army can hold a battlefield edge by having 2 units within 6 inches of it and no enemy units. And you can get a minor victory just by holding one battlefield edge. That's because it's kind of hard to hold the edge. So I probably shouldn't have brought all infantry because the ongoing reserves mechanic allows infantry to come back on a 2+.
Right.
And on turn 5, he did hold one of the battlefield edges with 2 wave serpents. He eventually figured out, okay, if I just hold 1 unit in each corner and kill off all the models near it, I can easily hold that. Because when I come in from ongoing reserves, I have to be 9 inches away from him. So the only way I can win the game is if I come in 9 inches and win and make that 9-inch charge and survive.
Right.
Which I promptly did on turn 6, unfortunately. So I won that game, but he had every chance to win. It was just tough because everything was infantry. And I feel like, maybe I should bring some scarabs or something in that army instead of just having 8 squads of 20 Necron warriors and 3 Cryptex. Maybe bring some scarabs or something interesting like that.
That could work. Yeah, that's I don't know. I like the idea of 100 what was it again? 180?
160 Necron warriors.
I don't know. That entertains me.
Yeah, it entertains me too. I was going to bring them into the tournament, but then I would have to rebase 160 Necron warriors on 32
and that bases. Doesn't entertain me. There you go.
That does not compute.
No.
Yeah, that is not entertaining.
No.
Maybe my pain would be entertaining. So I'm renaming that army the Akhet.
Okay.
Because the Akhet is a term from ancient Egypt, which refers to the tide, or not the tide, but the surge of the Nile River in the wet season.
Yeah.
When it floods the plains and brings life. So my giant mob of 160 Necron warriors is called the Akhet. So that'll be fun. And I've been kind of role-playing them as this almost like the Borg.
Right.
So when in the Somnium Stars campaign for Discord channel, so I belong to the Necron channel for that. So when I come on to fight, I send a transmission in. I'm like transmission equals bracket. Attention, dynastic counterparts. The Akhet surges. The Eldari child race has attacked Asylus. The living metal tide shall retaliate on Fedane to reclaim our webway gate there. End transmission. And then I'm like, transmission equals... Attention, dynastic counterparts. The Akhet has overrun the Eldari child race on Fedane. The webway gate will be overwhelmed in due course. End transmission. So I've been kind of role-playing them as this, like kind of as the Borg or something like that. So that's super fun.
But that makes sense. The silver wave of bodies that never stop. They just keep coming. And one thing, you still have the bases in that kind of swamp theme, right?
Yeah, there's no way I'm rebasing them.
No.
Not going to happen.
No. I mean, the thing is,
It took longer to base them than to paint them. Literally. It literally took longer to do the bases than to paint those models. So no.
Yeah, so I think the name of the was it Octed? I think that's a good name. I think that works, especially with the swamp base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. I've also been doing Age of Sigmar. The reason I bought all of those warriors is so that I could play with my Seraphon in friendly games. Although my Carriage on Overlords are not super competitive, they're also not all that fun to play against.
Oh, okay.
In a friendly setting. So I'm just going to bring my Seraphon the next time we play friendly games in my backyard, which is what we've been doing, which has been a lot of fun. I love playing Age of Sigmar in my backyard on the weekends sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's really cool of Wendy to be cool with that. I can't get out much because, it would super not be fair to go out more than once a week.
Right.
To just do whatever I feel like doing and leave her with our son. And, I would hate to miss things with him. Right. But what is fun is playing games with him. He loves game day. He loves hanging out with nerds. It's like white noise to him. So that's totally fine. I love that you patronize me with laughter on a joke that you've already heard.
I know. Isn't it funny?
It's still that funny.
Yeah. Beyond the Fringe is going to be great, isn't it?
So I have a tournament this weekend, and I'm bringing Big Mac Sizzle Grub again. I've been using him a lot as like kind of the non-Imperium Nihilist side of Wajolti.
Right.
And he's going to be doing 3 campaign games during the tournament. So we'll talk more about that later in the main segment. He's bringing out the big guns. I might even try using a Stompa. I'm not sure. It might not be feasible.
Okay.
It also might be a pain in the butt. So we'll see with that. So Jason.
All right.
That was my games played. What have you been up to for the past couple of weeks?
Okay.
Your
deja vu.
Your midlife crisis.
My walkabout.
How has that been going? Your midlife crisis. How's that been going?
Quite nice. I have managed to get away from work. I did not take my laptop with me on my last walkabout because, they're not paying me. I'm not working. There we go.
I approve.
Yeah. I did take... So, I wandered around Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. I did take my kill team with me and my war band, but I didn't play anything because I just kind of bounced from store to store and town to town just for giggles. Let's see.
Getting with all of your Tinder contacts and your
but I can't make it all the way up to Seattle or over to Albany to get them all in. So yeah.
Wow, you left out your Ontario friend. That's fine.
Well, I mean, I'd have to hit Ontario between Seattle and New York,
right?
And I'd have to go and see our buddy Justin up in the other side of Canada, wherever he's located.
That's true.
All right, so I haven't got much gaming in, just because I've been out of town. I try and go to the Monday night gaming here because I'm trying to help the community grow. I'm trying to trying to be a good person. Well, whatever. So I helped kind of coach people through a Guild Team game the other night. The first game was Gene Stealer Cult versus Grey Knights. The first game, there wasn't a lot of terrain, and Grey Knights just basically wiped the Gene Stealer Cult right off the board. The next game was a 3-person game. Grey Knights, Gene Stealers, and Space Wolf Terminators. The Gene Stealer lost one dude. Just one Gene Stealer. And took out the 100 points of Grey Knights and 125 points of Space Wolf Terminators. Just chewed through them. So, because there was more terrain. So, this game is interesting. If you go through and change just one element, you can wildly change the outcome of the game, which I thought was cool. Because the Gene Stealer, both the Grey Knight player and the Gene Stealer guy were new players, and so they were still figuring out what to do, and that's kind of nice. So hopefully I'll get some more games in on Monday. So
yeah, you want loads of terrain in that game. If you're not at least putting the entire collection of terrain that comes with the starter set on the battlefield, you are doing it wrong. Yeah. And I know it's kind of rough to say to people you're doing the game wrong, but in this case, you're definitely doing it wrong. You're giving someone too much of an advantage if you don't play with at least that much terrain.
Yeah, you need to have terrain on there because it does help. It helps a lot for some of the armies. For other armies, it doesn't help them so much, but they have other ways to compensate. So, all right, shall we go to Beyond the Fringe? Because I've been dying to talk about Beyond the Fringe for
So
30 minutes now.
I have two things. Yeah. First thing is VS Code. VS Code is... it's kind of like the adopted son of Visual Studio. I don't think the code base has anything to do with Visual Studio at all. In fact, I think they stole a bunch of stuff from a bunch of other text editors, which is fine because it is as close to a perfect text editor as I've found so far. It's got some great highlighting for tabs. It's got some great highlighting for making sure your brackets and stuff are matched up. And it does a really good job of detecting what language you're using and highlighting. The color highlights are really smart. Yeah. There are a lot of add-ons. There's a Git add-ons, and there's an awesome terminal window that you can use in there. I love it.
Right.
It is great. Don't let the sort of attachment to old Visual Studio scare you. Try it. Even if you're using Sublime, even if you've purchased a Sublime license, try VS Code. It is free and it is really, 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 really good. Also, my second Beyond the Fringe is Audacity. Yeah. Audacity. We couldn't do this podcast without Audacity to the point where I actually sent them $25 earlier today because that's how much they mean to me. Thank you. Jason, did you have anything you wanted to add to that conversation?
Yeah. So just so y'all know, this is the second time we've
I'm going to translate for everybody. I'm going to translate for you. What Jason's actually about to say is those guys.
Oh man, I've got to go through and edit that. Okay, hold on. Where was he? Okay, 31. Okay. What happened was
just as I was saying, Audacity is my Beyond the Fringe.
I looked over and Audacity had crashed on me
30 minutes ago.
Yeah. So
from that time. So the past 30 minutes, or 20 minutes actually, because we went a little fast. The past 30 minutes.
30 minutes, yeah.
Have been the second time we've talked those 30 minutes.
Yeah. So everything after this we have not talked about before. Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, it won't be deja vu.
No, it won't. I won't be able to finish your sentences. Okay.
Aww.
So, okay.
Or
now,
fake laugh at what I say. Now, joke's on me. He was fake laughing the first time around, too. So it's fine.
Shh.
Jason, what's your Beyond the Fringe?
Phone navigation. Because I was on my little walkabout, I was driving through parts of West Texas that I'm not sure are on maps, to be quite honest. Some roads that are, well, they're paved, I don't know when, but they were paved at some point. So, that was kind of nice. And I was able to find Cadillac Ranch, too. That was kind of nice. Dead
snakes.
Huh?
On the highway? Dead snakes on the highway? Snake roadkill?
I didn't see so many snake. I mean, there wasn't enough out there to, run over. I mean, it's
right. Even the snakes are like, we're not going there.
Yeah, it was desert. There wasn't, it was scrub. There wasn't much out there. It was cool. I mean, I'd never been out to that part of West Texas before. I wanted to go to Marfa to see the lights. There's some sort of odd atmospheric thing that happens, and you can see lights in the sky and whatnot.
Right. Are you sure it's not like Night Vale? Is it?
It could be. I did drive by Roswell as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Fun,
I mean, I was out where people, they hang out, get heat stroke, and that's how their brain works. So
yeah. Are you sure it wasn't a sentient cloud, like a sentient glow cloud?
It could have been.
Yeah,
I
be careful out there.
I wasn't able to get to Marfa because when I got to Fort Stockton, I looked at the weather and it basically said, yeah, there's a flash flood warning in that area.
And they don't mess around. Like in New York, when they say flash flood, they're like, that's fine. The bridges can handle this. Out in the Southwest, none of the bridges can handle it. Every bridge gets wiped out every time there's flash floods.
And the best
or
part
just
is
assume it does.
Probably hadn't rained in like months. So
yeah.
So I didn't go.
I mean, I'm not saying the bridges are built poorly. I'm saying that it gets just the soil gets undermined so quickly that every bridge just gets murdered for some reason.
So I didn't go. I hung out in my hotel and watched the thunderstorms go by, and that was kind of cool.
Cool. Excellent. So that's the intro. Again, what I think we need to do is stop the recording, save, and I need to actually go out into not in here and wipe the sweat off me before we talk about our main topic.
Okay.
And let Wendy know what happened.
Yeah, let her know. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be right back with a topic on participating in a narrative.
Yay!
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke en bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer en bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
Blood Ravens Chapter is a Facebook group set up and run by passionate fans of the mysterious Space Marine chapter. They have weekly features, regular competitions, and an encouraging community ethos designed to let people get the most from their hobby. Search for +, Blood Ravens Chapter, +, On Facebook, using the plus symbol, if you're a fan or collector of these heroes of the Imperium. Knowledge is power, guard it well.
I just want to invite you to Frayed Paintbrush Hobby Progress Facebook group. It is a positive group set up to motivate us to hobby and then share it with all the other members. At the beginning of the month, post up your monthly challenge on the page, and then at the end of the month, you post the completed work for all to see. No pressure, just fun among friends. Once again, that's Frayed, Frayed Paintbrush. Hope to see you there.
All right, welcome back. I just got back from putting my naked butt in front of the air conditioner. I feel much better now.
Ooh.
Yep, pretty great. I mean, it's a little bigger than it was a few months ago because the baby is making me fat again. Listen, I'm not getting super fat. I just gained like 10 pounds. It was terrible. Anyways,
you'll get it back off.
I'm
not worried.
We'll get it back off once I can get back to the gym and he's not waking up at God knows when. All right. So participating in narrative, this is we're just gonna have a conversation here. And I hope I don't pontificate too much. Because, you know, I'm super interested in your input here on how this goes. You've played in some narratives with me. We've played narratives together. And you've had your own narrative gaming experiences. I want to start off by talking about your army's personal narrative. I think a lot of people, they definitely, and I'm not going to get, so it's easy to, I hate to say it's easy, but you can just paint an army that is based on an army that exists, like Imperial Fists or whatever. And that comes pre-packaged with a narrative for you, which is great. That's not to say you can't develop your own, but you don't have to develop a long, drawn-out backstory for your army. So that's super nice. And I definitely recommend, if you're going to do a narrative with a pre-made faction, definitely go and read as much as you can about their lore so that you can build on that for going forward. And, you know, you can come up with it's not like every Imperial Fists company is exquisitely detailed in the lore, right? So you can have your own, like, oh, I'm going to do 5th Company of Blood Raven, or 5th Company Blood Ravens.
Actually,
okay, I'm sure that the details of the 5th Company Blood Ravens are not fully detailed somewhere, and you're free to come up with your own kind of background.
What makes me laugh is I know the lore for the 5th Company off the top of my head.
But you know what I'm saying? Like not every company of every faction, or not every subgroup of every faction is
it's not documented,
fully detailed.
right?
I think the most we have are the Ultramarines, because they were usually the ones that they use to describe each of the companies and who the captain is and who the sergeants are and everything like that. But even then, you can, with the Ultramarines, you can kind of fudge it.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect that's why a lot of people really adore the Horus Heresy stuff, because they can go through, take one of these pre-existing chapters, but then look at companies, at chapters within the large legion, and, you know, create something new, you know, that maybe it didn't survive to 40K because it got wiped out in the Horus Heresy, or maybe it got turned into another chapter or something like that. But yeah, that's exactly, you can go through with this pre-existing, you know, known color scheme, history, and then you can go through and build off of maybe something that isn't known so much. You know, and that's
right. And I don't think it matters whether you have an existing faction or you're coming up with your own. What's really important when developing your personal narrative is to look at the nature of the faction first. What is its nature? What is its combat doctrine or dogma or whatever? What are its beliefs? and how does it operate. Look at that first. Use that as a starting point. I wouldn't put a lot of effort into, where are they from?
Right.
Who is there? Who started this faction off, or who's their warlord? Don't do that right off the bat. You will be locking yourself into a location or character or whatever that might or might not gel with that army's paradigm.
Right.
What you want to do is figure out what kind of army it is. How does it function in the galaxy, from a war perspective, and then start to develop the background from there. So, for example, if you have a faction of really aggressive space marines who kind of enjoy bloodshed, and they kind of, let's say that they kind of are shameful about that fact. So how did that happen? How did that come about? Who's their progenitor chapter?
Right.
So what if, obviously Blood Angels is a good, would be an obvious choice. So why not go with a less obvious choice? Maybe it's Iron Hands. And why would an Iron Hands successor be like that? And then you can start kind of putting all the other little pieces together when you have a little twist like that. Like, oh, no, we're not talking about, Blood Angels in the, undergoing the red thirst. It is in fact actually like this offshoot of the Iron Hands who actually are almost like the Purge in that they are anti-life, right? Like they are disdainful of humanity to the point where they enjoy killing. So what kind of chapter world would that kind of a group have? Right. Would they be on this weird Forge world? Would it be like this really strange Forge world that they are part of? Or would it be something like a Death world or a Dead world? Maybe they live on a world that was bombed by eradicated by virus bombs during the Horus Heresy, and they just live where there's nothing. So like stuff like that, you can start building little pieces out just from one little twist in their lore.
Yeah.
And then when you start thinking about that, that's when their history starts to come into place. Like it starts falling together based on like the destination of the story is not more important, but it has to you actually literally have to put, not literally, but you have to put the cart before the horse when it comes to these stories. Right. Now, some authors, they write by the seat of their pants, and that's fine. For the layman, I think it makes a lot more sense to start with the finishing point, especially when it comes to Warhammer factions, and build from that end point. Start from the end and work your way back to the beginning. And it will feel a lot more believable if you do it that way, because you don't have to worry about what begets what. You won't have chicken and egg problems if you start with the conclusion.
That's true. You'll know your destination. All you have to do is fill in the points between the start and the finish. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're playing your personal narrative out on the battlefield, sometimes you won't always have opponents who want to do narrative games, especially if you're club rats like I am. Like I'm a club rat a lot of the time. And not every player is going to be super into the narrative like that. Like they'll say, a lot of people read the books and they'll enjoy it. But even people who are into the lore, are super into narrative play. They still act in a way that, like, they still play in a way that matched play is the standard way to play. Yeah, so you'll still want to develop your narrative even though other people aren't as interested in a narrative game. At that point, you'll play your game, and a lot of folks like that, you're probably going to end up getting your butt whooped.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go like this weekend when I go to the tournament, right? Those games are gonna go towards the lore of my army and like what they're doing. And I did the same thing with the Star Eagles when I went to, I did that with my orcs when I went to Adepticon and I played in the tournament there. But even if my warlord dies in every game, I don't want that to be what drive those details to drive that narrative. Because you're gonna go through warlords like crazy. You're just going to be like, okay, well, I guess I have to come up with an excuse for him to live through this one too. Instead, think of it on a more grand scale of victories and defeats. So, and maybe who you played against. Instead of my specific warlord was here at this battle and got killed 3 times in this 3-game tournament. No, instead you could say, okay, I played against Necrons and won. Then I played against, Imperial Guard and lost, Imperial Knight, Chaos Knights, and I lost. And you can take some minor details from each of those games and develop a kind of like, how in the codexes you have those little blurbs.
Yeah.
In the codex, like in the timeline, each event is like a paragraph. I would do that with those matched play games. If you're doing matched play games, make like a little paragraph for each game. Don't go into super detail about who lived, who died, or whatever. Just try to pick out a couple interesting things about the game and just say whether it was a victory or a defeat. And even if it was a defeat, perhaps there was some kind of ulterior motive or something like that. Like, try to come up with some kind of narrative victory condition to allow you to weave that into the story, to kind of add a little honey to, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Oh, yeah.
Like the cocaine, the liquid cocaine that the children in Mary Poppins were eating, which is fine. That's fine.
So
yeah.
What?
So you try to develop a personal narrative that way. Other than that, you can actually involve your friends in your personal narrative, which I do on occasion, and you've helped me do that. And that's a lot of fun. But what it takes is, so sometimes like with my game with Alexis, she had her personal narrative going and I had mine. Like, I was doing that game for a game in the Somnium Stars campaign that the Independent Characters are running. So you have to, even though you have separate narratives going on, you can still play a game together and tweak it so that you're telling your story and the other person is telling their story. And it's just a matter of mutual respect for that other person, right? Like, when I was playing against Alexis, I very well could have fallen back from the Patriarch. That's what it's called, a Patriarch.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Anyways, I could have fallen back from that Patriarch and just shot it with all of my Hellhounds.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But why?
Exactly.
Why? No, you send in both of your characters and their command squad and you fight that thing in close combat. That's what you do. Right? So I feel like it's very important when you're doing a narrative to have that mutual respect for that other person. When we played our game in Shatara, I said, okay, guys, bring as much artillery as you can, and I'm going to send in waves of infantry. And I think Phil was taken a little aback when I was like, yeah, some more infantry's coming. And he's like, but I just killed all that infantry. I'm like, I told you to bring as much artillery as possible. So, I mean, it's okay. And like, you're like, are you sure you want me to bring all this artillery? I'm like, yes, I want you to. Like, I was giving, when you're giving the other person the benefit.
Yeah.
Like, you're saying, okay, you're going to need all this stuff. It's okay to tailor your list because I'm going to do something to blunt the impact of that. But it just makes sense. In that case, it made sense for you guys to have all that artillery. Yeah. It made sense for you to have all that anti-orc firepower. But I have to counter that with, having some kind of recycling ability.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or something else. But in that case, I liked the idea of removing all those models just in droves. I thought that was cool. Unfortunately, that was back during the time of like blast markers being able to snipe characters, which was stupid.
Yeah. Well, I was just I was thinking to go through and kind of add something to the collaborative narrative and the personal narrative and that specific game. One of the things I do is I have my warband with me, and I'll go to I'll be playing someone else, but there'll be times I'll actually move my warband onto someone else's game table to get pictures that say these guys are observing, and they'll ask, well, what can they do? They're observing. And they'll be there for a turn and they're going to go away and you're going to wonder about it and you're not going to understand what's going on. And so that gives me some chances to maybe if I want to add another character to my warband that I have picked them up from that table, so that's been kind of nice. I've got some Kroot that I need to come up with a backstory for, so if I see Bill when I'm in New York in August, I'll make sure and steal some Kroot from him or something.
All right, that's cool. So these personal narratives, I like to do them mostly at home. Because it's a controlled environment. Mm-hmm. And when I do it at home, I liked and people are there to help me fulfill my army's narrative. I like to bring as much as possible to that. Like you want to have the scenario ready ahead of time. Let people know what you're going to be playing. Let them know what's appropriate model wise. Right. So there's been a couple times, I think for Shatara we did an underground thing, and I said don't bring any tanks to that because it doesn't make any sense for there to be tanks in the facility for this game. But definitely bring some dreadnoughts or whatever. Right. Because I'll have some Def Dreads and you can bring some dreadnoughts and that'll be fun. They can punch each other up.
Yes.
And I think your dreadnought got murdered by one of the electricity pulses during that game. That was I remember something died. I think I ran it right into it just to make it die too. Yeah, I think you wanted it to explode.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was. Yeah. I saw. Yeah,
you punched it. Oh yeah. You were trying to destroy the power conduits, and you punched it, and he died. But he died a hero. That's right. So yeah, at home, doing it at home is really nice. Like I said, because you have a controlled environment, you have all day, you can turn on the air conditioning. It's not loud, especially if you're trying to record. Yeah. So sometimes folks try to record their narratives, and it's a pain in the butt. So it's worth it even if you have to go out of your way 20 minutes to drive to somebody's house. If you're trying to do a fun narrative, why don't you go there? You can swim or whatever.
Order pizza.
But at least if you're at my house. order pizza. Exactly. My glasses are fogging up again. It's so hot in here.
I'm sorry.
We've kind of already talked about at the club and the tournament. Again, at the club, you can get narrative games, and sometimes I can convince people, hey, can we do a narrative mission? Yeah. But a lot of the time, folks are preparing for tournaments. Right. So again, as we discussed, like just try to weave it in for yourself, and if the other person is getting super bloodthirsty, you can, like I said, you can write it in that it's just a defeat, a crushing defeat. If you're going to a narrative event, that is a whole ball of wax. Our buddy Tim went to one of those in Gibraltar a while back. It was like an invitation only type. I don't know if it's invitation only, but it was invitation and then like a few other people. And you want to make sure your story is on point. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure your additional materials are on point, like your list, your narrative list. You want that to be on point. And your models need to be on point. You need to, I'm not saying you have to be a good painter. I'm saying you have to paint as well as you can. And everything needs to be painted. You have to have a strong mutual respect for the other person who's engaging in that narrative with you. If someone invites you to their house for a game too, not just at a narrative event like the Nova narrative or this, like the one in Gibraltar or Heresy Camp, like those places. But even if you're just going to somebody's house, if somebody wants you to be a part of a narrative game or narrative campaign, I think it's really important that you respect them by having painted models, and don't bring unbased models to that. If you feel like you can't finish it, don't bring it. Don't bring the model. Your opponent would be happier to play a smaller point game than play a less immersive experience.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't know how you feel about that. Is that a little heavy-handed? But I think for narrative play, it's not.
I play narrative. I that's just kind of who I am. And I've helped out people do competitive stuff in the past, if I've got an idea what's going on. And I've discovered the more that I've played, whenever someone doesn't have painted models on the table, it just doesn't feel the same to me. And I don't want to go through and shame anybody into, if it's their first few games, if they're not painted, rad. But they've been doing, 10 years and they're not painted, then I get kind of grouchy, unless the models are brand new. Then I kind of give them a pass. But a lot of times I prefer to play against a painted army just because I would. And
yeah, me too.
There have been times like I think I told you I've been teaching people how to airbrush because I can't stop myself from teaching. I guess I don't know. And I've been getting people in the local club to start painting. Because, I taught a couple people how to do stuff, and they did that, and all of a sudden they're playing their Frostgrave or Rangers Shadow Deep, or they're doing their D&D stuff with miniatures, and they realize, oh, hey, Steph has an incredibly well-painted whatever she had. Why am I here with this gray plastic? So, yeah. Go through and paint stuff. And it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be brilliant. It doesn't have to be, Miles from Little Legends or our buddy Justin or, all the other great, incredible painters out there. But you do need to, to do some stuff on there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but, it has to have something. And
yeah, especially if you've been invited to something. And if you can't commit to that, then just politely decline. Say, no, dude, I'm not really into that right now, or my army's not quite ready for that right now. Can I take a rain check? Can I do this another time? Can you involve me in the next one? I'm building, or I'm really interested in this other army that I'm building. I'd rather do a narrative with that army. Can we plan something in a couple months when I've finished my paint on that, and maybe we can ahead of time come up with a narrative. And that's the other thing, you want to prepare for this kind of stuff. You want to plan for it. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next segment. We're going to be talking about preparing for the narrative and building on it and the tools you use to do that. So let's take another quick break and come back and talk about planning and hosting a narrative.
Are you looking for a pressure-free hobby Facebook group? Hobby Streak. Are you looking for a community where you can keep your hobby progress on track? Hobby Streak. Do you want a Facebook group that focuses on all aspects of the hobby? Hobby Streak. Hobby Streak is a Facebook group for building, painting, list building, playing games, and everything in between. Hobby Streak. Post daily updates showing or telling about your progress for friendly and helpful support from a great community. Try Hobby Streak today.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
This is Rob Sanders, and you're listening to the Masters of the Forge, where the world of 40K comes to life on your tabletop.
So there's a lot of tools that you can use to plan your narrative games. I think, there's a bunch of authoring tools out there that people could use because it lets you kind of put together pieces like research and pictures and whatnot. I personally just use Google Drive for all my stuff, like docs and spreadsheets and whatever. And I generally share it through that medium. I'll usually export it like a Google doc. I'll export it as a PDF though, and re-upload it. That way, folks have an easy portable format for their documentation for the campaign. I think I did that with the last two narratives. I think where I forwarded it to you guys, and you could look through it. And you put all the maps and stuff in there, put the story in there, and any custom scenario, custom rules or custom units were also included in that documentation.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you had all that. What's the way you format the not handouts, but our packets we put together for Masters of the Forge. Very easy to look through, very easy to read and print up, and
I really enjoy doing that kind of work. It's not for everyone, so you don't feel like you have to do that. But anybody who's really interested in freaking motorcycles going by, our road is very popular for motorcycles.
Well, it's a beautiful road.
It's a nice road. Yeah. Anyways, so. The things you want to kind of put together are who's going to be involved. If you're just doing kind of a league play type thing, and kind of putting a loose narrative together, it's not really that important to have a lot of these details. Right. But if you are super committed to it, you're going to need a good list of what everybody's going to be playing. Don't pigeonhole people either. If people have multiple armies and they want to play multiple armies, it's not a competition. It's okay for people to jump ship from one faction to another because they're just helping further the narrative. Yeah. That's what I'm doing in Somnium Stars. I've played my Diggas as Imperials. I have played my Orcs. I have played the Necrons. All three. I've been working for all three, and I've won games for all three. And it's not... I'm not... It doesn't matter. It's not a huge... I mean, for some folks, the competition is fun, especially when woven into a narrative. But for me, I'm just helping tell the story, right? So let people play multiple factions if they want to. It's not that important. You're not figuring out a winner. You're not giving out best like general prizes to this. Okay. Figure out who's playing, try to craft a narrative based on that. Now for your personal narratives, you might say, okay, I want to send my forces into this war zone. I need to find somebody who has, say you were like, oh, I want to go to Damocles. I want to fight against Tau. Okay, well, that limits your opponents, right? You're saying you're going to have to walk up to somebody specific and say, hey, will you play in this narrative with me? By the way, this is basically me asking you to finish painting a bunch of stuff and commit to a bunch of games and a bunch of missions that might not be balanced in your favor or my favor or whatever. And so it's tough. You may not be able to play exactly the narrative you'd like to play. I think it's going to come down to where you're able to play and who you're able to play with. And you might count on one hand the number of people you'd be willing to do a narrative campaign with. So keep in mind that person's access to armies and also what kind of armies that they're wanting to play. Yeah. Like I'm going through the Vigilus campaigns with Mike. Mike is happy to play any army. Really.
Well, he has most of the armies, doesn't he?
He has most armies. Yes, exactly. So, but I know that Imperial Guard isn't exactly his favorite. So, I try to nudge him towards playing different armies. Like the last one we did was, I'm like, oh, why don't you do the Dark Eldar and I'll play my Diggas. And I think that worked out really nicely.
He has a really nice Imperial Guard army, though. He's got a couple of conversions that are really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. He's great. So that's what I'm going. You got to be practical. That's kind of my point. Yeah. Be practical. Don't be like, I demand that I find somebody to play this specific campaign with me. You're not going to get far with that attitude. Think about who would be willing to engage in this with you, and then go to that person with that. Now, it might come up in conversation that someone's interested in building a new army.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I've always wanted to do Gene Stealer Cult. If somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, wow, I've always wanted to do like this campaign where my Death Watch are killing Gene Stealer Cult. I think that would be really cool." I'd be like, "You're a jerk because I really want to start Gene Stealer Cult. Maybe we should do like an escalation thing where we start with like a kill team, then we go to Zone Mortalis and whatever, and I build my army that way. And so I can build and paint my army, and whenever I finish that force, I can say, hey, I'm able to continue this narrative with you. You want to get together and tell another story or do another game for another story." And I think a lot of the Games Workshop employees kind of do it that way. I think like the old Tale of Four Warlords and stuff is kind of predicated on that kind of building up your collection and escalating the narrative based on what you've added to your collection. Yeah. So yeah, I think I could definitely see that being a thing. And in that case, you're probably going to have multiple, if you're a narrative player, you're going to have multiple stories going on at once. Yeah. So like my narrative for my Imperial Knights goes parallel to my orcs, like, or my Star Eagles and stuff. So they don't always, I'm not always just focused on one narrative, right? Like, I'm continuing that all of those narratives kind of simultaneously, so that I can switch off and play different armies on different days if I feel like switching it up.
Yeah.
So after you've done all your research, not only for who's going to play, but you'll also want to do your research for the era that you're going to be playing in and the locations.
Yeah.
In the galaxy that you're going to be playing. The more research you do, the more real it's going to feel, the more immersive it's going to be for the people who are playing with you. And this is especially important if you're GMing, you're doing more of a GMing role than anything else. Keep that in mind. And you know, the worst thing is like if a player says, "Well, you got this fact wrong," so it, you know, reduces the immersion for me. Which at the end of the day, you know, let's have a little perspective here. It's not the end of the world, but it would be nice if you had your facts straight before putting the narrative together. Or if the facts are not straight, which they rarely are completely on the up and up in 40K, make sure that later on it's revealed why that there's a disparity in it. Perhaps there's something that hasn't been revealed in the actual lore that you'd like to reveal in your personal lore.
Right.
You can do that. It's your story. You can change whatever you want. You can have the Illuminati show up. You can have the Ordo Chronos show up. You can, you know, you can do whatever you want with your story. And if people are put off by it, well, maybe they don't want to, maybe they'll choose to not be in the next one. But what's important is that you stay true to yourself and tell the story you want to tell. So how many people are going to be involved in this narrative is going to dictate how much of the galaxy you want to include in it.
Yeah,
I think
that's important.
Because it's you know, it's tough to have to suspend disbelief and say, okay, this one world is being fought for by every faction so that everybody can play in the campaign. Right. I think the independent characters are doing a great job of they're kind of a good example of how to do it right is their campaign, where they have a huge sector, like they have a whole war zone set up for the battles, and each planet is held by a specific faction.
Oh, okay. That's how they're doing that. Okay.
Yes. So whenever you attack a world and win a game, it ticks up like a percentage for your faction. Okay. So it doesn't get super granular, like you're not fighting over land masses or, you know, resources on that specific world or whatever, because it's too big a campaign for that.
Right. Yeah.
There's too many people involved. Too many factions involved. You can't get very specific. Don't try. Now, if it's just you and a buddy, sure. Figure out a cool way to do resources on the planet. You've taken 5 sheep and I have 3 wood, and that's fine. You can do it that way if you want to. And there is a certain fun aspect to that as long as your opponent enjoys that sort of thing as well. But in a big, like, multi-person campaign, do not bother. It is too much. I've tried it. It is not great. People just ignore it anyways. So don't do that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And you can't expect to please everyone. You know, I recommend just saying, hey, sometimes certain factions aren't going to be involved in the campaign.
Yeah,
and people have to be okay with that.
I've seen campaigns like that where, you know, it was like, you know, Chorus Heresy campaigns have very specific, you know, who's going to be there and who won't be. But, you know, like, I think Carl one time had a campaign where it was just Tyranids. Like, one side was Tyranids versus everybody else.
Yeah, Tyranids versus Elbar, I think it was. Yeah, and that's fine. I think that's really good. I think you should do it that way a lot of the time, most of the time. Now, if you're just going to be playing games, don't call it a narrative, call it a league.
Yeah.
Just do a league where everybody can play. Or you can have multiple narratives going on at once, too. Like I was saying before, you can do your own personal narrative and have that going on, and then do like a little story-based thing. You know, Vigilus is a perfect example of one where most factions are involved, and they're involved in a creative and like believable way. And I recommend using that book for that purpose, like actually do that narrative or something like it. So the scenarios you're going to use, I like making up my own scenarios, but I'm not going to lie, Games Workshop has been cranking out a lot of really great scenarios lately. And some of them are very similar to each other. Some of them have similar features that aren't exactly like universal campaign rules. For that reason, I have taken the time to put together a document with all of the narrative scenarios listed.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, and I just got this, you know, sometimes I get crazy brain and I start something and I can't not finish it. And this was one of those situations where I just started putting something together for my own benefit, and it just kind of snowballed into something crazy. So I'm going to put a link to this in this episode because I think it'll be useful. But yeah, it's basically a big spreadsheet of all the narrative scenarios in all of the publications by Games Workshop. Thanks to all the folks out there who helped me put it together. I didn't have every book, and some folks put the info together for me. There's a column for the name of the scenario, where you can, what publication you can find it in, what narrative special rules are used, a general idea of like I came up with scenario types like ambush or hold ground, just very simple ideas, like generic ideas of what kind of mission it is in case you're looking for a kind of mission. And then you can look at all the examples of ambushes and say which one you want to pick, or you can mix them. I wrote down each the stratagems each one comes with. I didn't actually type out all the stratagems. I just said what the name is. But you can kind of guess what this stratagem does by its name. So that's real. I recommend you look at that and use those missions, those scenarios, as a guide for the kinds of missions you want to use for your narrative. I think it'll be really helpful. I'm buying every single book that has narrative missions in it. Every book, because I want to have those handy for when I play my games. Again, not everybody's super interested in playing narrative scenarios because they are absolutely not balanced.
No, they
for the most part.
Not always.
They are for the most part not balanced. If a lot of the time they'll say, oh, if one person has less power level than another, that person needs to be the attacker or the defender. I think it's a good idea to reduce your power level by about 20% and take on that role.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
There was a what was it? There was something out of one of the Vigilus books where there's a really cool rule in that if you used any sort of telepathic power, that you started perils automatically. I don't remember which one it was, and I probably have it wrong, but
okay.
I don't remember which one it was. It was the second book, I believe. But there's a couple of my friends were playing it, and I happened to be there, and I was trolling them while I was, there having fun with them. And basically this one little rule that was kind of not, I think you could take it or not, just wiped out both sides. Because one was Eldar and another was Space Marine that had a couple of librarians, and everything just kind of, everyone's head exploded. I was like, wow, this is terrible, and I'm sorry that I said y'all should do it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So the types of scenario, let your opponents know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Or I would say is partners. Like they're more your partner in the storytelling experience. Yeah. Let them know ahead of time what kind of missions you're looking to do. So if you're like, oh, I want Zone Mortalis to feature heavily in this, or I want to kick off this campaign with a big apocalypse game.
Yeah.
Or I want to finish the campaign with a big apocalypse game. Make sure your opponent is into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Make sure they want to do that, because they may not want to. Having said that, you can always bring in somebody else who is interested in that. So if for Shatara, I tapped different people for different parts of that campaign, because I knew that some people would be more interested in some things than others. Like I knew Phil wouldn't let me get by without letting him be a part of the last scenario for that campaign, because I was like, just bring all the artillery. And he's like, whoa, what?
Wait, was this the where he was destroying the libraries? Yeah.
Yes, he was excitedly bombing the libraries. That was
terrible.
I think he was having a great day. Yeah. So make sure you don't, if you're telling your story, you don't have to like involve each person in every single scenario. Pick and choose people based on where what kind of game it is, or what opponent you're going to want to face for that specific part of the campaign. If you feel like you're going to be up against it, why not tap one of your matched play buddies to play against you and totally wreck you in a very interesting and unique way. That way you can actually get the feel for getting myrtleized for the story as it goes forward. Why not?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea.
So if you're hosting a narrative, you are taking on a responsibility, just like you're asking your partners in this to have their armies painted and have stories for their models and stuff. You have to make sure you're on point with the terrain. If you're not on point with the terrain, if you're throwing books on the table, where do you think their immersion is going to be? Yeah. It's going to be non-existent. So, for example, for Shatara, I wanted to do some Zone Mortalis, so I built a Zone Mortalis board. Doy. So
it was a great one, and you did a damn good job on it.
I love that thing. I love it, and I'm going to pull it out soon too for Somnium Stars, because we're fighting over a Space Hulk that isn't going to be here. It's only going to be there during July, so I want to fight a few games over it. Yeah, you can do Kill Team. You can even play Space Hulk. Some people are playing like Space Hulk online for. Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Well, yeah.
Like
I
never played Space Hulk as the board game. I have played it on my phone, but yeah, that's something I think would be really cool to do. Yeah. Yeah,
I bet John will play with me. I'm not sure. Well, anyways, have the terrain. If you have to plan ahead, plan ahead. If you don't have to act on your whims immediately, right? You can say, okay, I'm going to do a narrative on an Eldar planet, on a Maiden world. Let's look at my terrain collection. I have all Imperial ruins.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to start working on terrain that makes sense for that world. Okay, so that's just don't even. But that also gives you an opportunity to say, oh, do I want to make some terrain that's specific to the storyline? Right. Maybe there's a webway gate. Okay, maybe I need to make a webway gate. Maybe there's like a crazy Eldar tree that's been transplanted here from somewhere else. Okay, I'm gonna make a big, awesome like Navi style avatar tree. You know?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's I think that's something you definitely you have a responsibility for making that game as immersive as possible if you're asking people to engage in this narrative with you. I strongly recommend maybe saving yourself some effort and buying some fat mats for that personally, but or I guess there's other companies too, but you know, those are the ones I use and they're amazing. Or go out and buy yourself a giant Forge World Zone Mortalis set. Because reasons.
Just remember, I'll have to paint that thing.
Airbrush.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of airbrushing.
A lot of washing and a lot of airbrushing. Woohoo! I think Carl went through an entire jug of purple power, didn't he, or something? Didn't he soak it in the bathtub?
Actually, I'm going to go back and listen to that episode.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Because I know some of those guys were having issues with like the paint staying on, and they had some stuff. So maybe there'll be some good tips in there for you.
I remember listening to it. I might actually shoot him a message and say, "Hey, which episode was it exactly?" Because I'm not sure, but I remember listening to it and thinking, "Hey, that's a brilliant idea." So that's what I'll be doing, is washing all of mine in the bathtub. Yay!
So then you have to think about location. Now, we've already kind of talked about, where it's good to do a narrative where it's quiet or where there's people or whatever. You may want to consider, if it's a big narrative event, renting a place out.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of having it at the game store where you have to fight the card gamers, or at your house where you got to pack a bunch of nerds in your house, think about your local VFW or the American Legion or Elks Lodge or whatever. A lot of these places are also important to the community. So that a lot of these places give to charities and they work for charities and they put a lot of effort into building the community. So why not throw them a little bit of money and to host your narrative event in their event hall? Now, if you might be able to finagle things where you don't have to pay the full price, because you're not doing a big wedding or you're not doing a huge dinner. You're just saying, hey, are there any days that you have the space available that we can come in and just use your space and have the lights on? And we'll use your bar and we'll order from your kitchen. Is there any way that we could just pay a nominal fee to use your space for like 10 guys and girls?
Yeah.
I think they would be amenable to that, as long as it's not during like a peak wedding season or something like that. I think you can get away with that. I think they might be able to hook you up, especially if you know somebody who's a member.
Yes, yeah. Well, y'all have used the VFW for Golden Sprue, which is not a narrative event, but it's still a good-sized event. Yep,
and they're great. They love having us there. They love things. They love some... Because, I think sometimes weddings can be very stressful on them, and it's nice for them to just have a group of people who doesn't care about anything and buys a lot of booze.
Yeah, they like that last
and
part.
buys the food, and they're just like, this is I think to them it's super easy, and it's something that they like to see at the tournament or at the venue. Yeah. So just think about that if you want to do a big apocalypse game for your final get together. Why don't you think about setting it up at the night before at the VFW or the American Legion, and then come in the next day and have some drinks and take an Uber home. It would be it's good fun. Really think about it. It's a lot cheaper than you might think it would be. Also, if you're hosting, if you're asking people to come to you, think about having refreshments. Whenever anybody comes to my house to record an episode for Altar of War, I feed them because they're doing me a favor, right? I buy pizza or whatever. It's not expensive. You know, I know we all balk at any additional expense that this game causes us, but it's what we love to do. And if you are if you're hosting a narrative event and you want people to come to you for this event, then it kind of behooves you to provide beer or drinks or food or whatever. Don't go overboard. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. But if 3 of your friends are coming over to play a big narrative game with you, fork over $20 for a pizza, you know?
Yeah.
It's not that hard. And everyone, and then they will feel compelled to stay until the game's over instead of leaving halfway through turn 4. Like, oh man, he bought me pizza. I really can't just cut out in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
I'll have to see this to the end.
Or
I'm not saying that every reason should have a selfish component to it, but in this case it does.
Yeah. Well, you know, if they bring pizza,
Yeah.
if you bring pizza, then they'll go wander off and bring back beer or something like that, and then it just becomes a party.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have enough booze in you at the end of the 4th turn, you don't care if you're winning or losing.
No, exactly. All you care about is the next cool thing that happens in the game. So, you know, I think narrative games are really rewarding. Narrative events can be really rewarding. I know that a lot of folks love the big narrative events. I love Astronomicon. Astronomicon is great. They're using points this year instead of power level because even people who love the narrative missions still hate power level.
Well, you know,
I don't know why.
I've been looking over
It's
power
weird.
level and points lately, and I see how things are just kind of bounced around. And I think some of the power levels need to be updated because, you know.
Yeah, they do need to be updated, but at the same time, it is what it is. Astronomicon is going to be an amazing event. We'll tell everybody more about it as we get closer. I can't attend this year. I think it's in like September. I don't have it available, so I don't want to say. But I'll let folks know later. And I know the Nova does continuous narrative throughout the weekend. Like different narrative style events at different points levels, all culminating in a big apocalypse game at the end. You listen to the 40K Badcast for more information on that, because those guys participate in it. I would actually go back and listen to the last year's Nova Open 2018 episode to get an idea of what their narrative is like. It's not just like one big game. It's different events with one-on-one games or 2v2 games, and like it's really interesting. It feels a lot like the Heresy narrative events that they have, where every game is a little different. Anyways, you know, I hope this gets the juices flowing for folks on how to do this. I know a lot of us are like, I want to get into narrative gaming, but I don't really know. People in my area really aren't all that interested. Well, maybe there's 1 or 2 people who are interested, and maybe you can set a new bar for narrative gaming in your area, where maybe you do just start doing your own personal narrative once in a while, or throughout the year, and you tell people about it, and you maybe say, hey, random person who I game with all the time, would you care to just try one of these narrative missions? I'd really like to give it a try, and there's nobody else here today, so why don't we just give it a shot? You'll find a lot of people are amenable to trying something. I'll try something once, right? Like, and maybe they'll like it, and maybe you can convince them to do it again another time, and a lot of these things end up snowballing into something bigger. And that's kind of how Kill Team happened. Kill Team in our area is doing very well because we encouraged it and we supported it and we continue to support it.
I suspect.
So, anyways,
I suspect in my local area we have. So the game store where I'm playing now, they have a large Dungeons and Dragons playing group. I'm not kidding. It's kind of scary. Well, I mean, not scary, but it's like they have a group that's together, 3 to 4 nights a week of anywhere from 4 to 20 people. It's kind of amazing. And there's a few people who kind of run it, and they run a lot of side quests, and they have this whole giant narrative going, and it's been really awesome to watch. And so I've been thinking, if I could peel off 1 or 2 people and say, hey man, why don't you come here and play Kill Team with me? Let's create a narrative. Let's create a storyline. That's what I'm trying to do right now. So, and I may be lending armies to people, or at least, hey, you want to play with this army? They're painted. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I could see possibly getting a couple of people involved in it, and I'm going to try. So
awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Kill Team is a great gateway. Yeah. Especially you're zeroing in on these individual characters who you can hopefully relate to as you play your games. Kill Team is great for narrative. I want to do more. I made that Chaos Kill Team for just that purpose, and I have some Adeptus. I have an Adeptus Mechanicus Kill Team, but I'm not as attached to that from a narrative perspective. Right. I think maybe if I do a Gene Stealer Cult one, I would be a little more attached to it. The Diggas just lend themselves to that kind of thing. Like, I could almost any infantry model in that army is a super characterful, fun, awesome narrative kill team waiting to happen. I just have to find the right army to do it with. I'm not sure. I think I assume Imperial Guard, but they all have knives, so I'm not sure if that's gonna work. Anyways, I think this was a good talk. I think this was nice. It was a nice change of pace from our usual scripted episodes. But I think we got a lot of information out there for folks, and I think a lot of people can go back to this episode and several times and get some good ideas, because I think I just vomited everything I've learned about narrative gaming from the past couple of years into 1 hour.
About an hour. Yeah.
But I am in a puddle of sweat right now.
Wow, that's
so why don't we take a quick break and close out the show?
Hey mofos, are you looking for more Warhammer 40k video content? Well, the Scarred Cast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarred Cast, Skared on YouTube.
Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't.
Come here, boy, get the ball. Come on, Max, get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him his Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh yes, Zotobix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotobix.
Yes, you had.
Zotobix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert depths.
Ah!
Zotobix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached. Welcome back. I am now partially liquid. I mean, I was anyways, but now I'm like a slurry. I am... is slurry a state of matter? Because I feel like that's the state of matter I am.
Sure, why not? I'm not sure where that...
Thank you for agreeing with me. It's very important that people agree
Sure.
with me. I like that, especially if it's condescension. I feel like that gives me what I need to live to move forward on the next day and the day after. If anybody would like to condescend to us in the comments of the iTunes, please do so.
Please.
Say how great we are. And if you can really get the sarcasm to show, I'd appreciate that. Facebook is another great place to pander to our egos.
Instagram, hashtag Masters of the Forge. Yeah.
That's right.
Twitter.
Jason can be found on Tinder at... For some reason, it's still Jason MOTF there, which is weird, but that's fine.
People are going to come looking for me now.
I can be found at Adam F. At your local Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Not really. That was a joke.
Oh boy.
What else? What else we got out there?
Twitter.
Oh, hashtag Masters of the Forge. Oh, yep. Yeah. Twitter, Masters of Forge. I've been posting on my personal Twitter quite a bit lately. I've gotten a little more into it. Curated. You can go on Twitter and curate a community and not have to deal with the gross stuff if you don't want to. Yeah, it's actually way easier than on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't use Twitter very often.
Again, it's very it's still difficult to follow chains of conversations because you kind of have to click on like the negative space of a tweet to see the whole tweet. I don't get it. I don't understand why they do their user experience the way they do. It doesn't make any sense. But I have found it more and more valuable as we've gone on. Actually, well, and it helps that a lot of the Games Workshop employees are on Twitter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they talk a lot about what they've been working on and stuff. So, I mean, obviously you don't get spoilers, but you get a more human side of Games Workshop on Twitter.
That's very true.
So I like that. I really like that. That's nice. All right. So next week, I forgot to say, I apologize. Last week, the last episode with you, Jason, I talked about doing Blood Ravens this episode because for some reason in my sleep-deprived brain, I thought that the June issue of White Dwarf was going to be Blood Ravens. No, the June issue the July issue. The June issue was advertising the July issue, and the July issue is going to be Blood Ravens. So next episode, we're going to talk about Blood Ravens, and possibly I will try to record a Altar of War for the Freebooters in the meantime there too. Mm-hmm. So, but until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Or GTFO.
Nailed it. There we go.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.